This Rise and Shine podcast series has been made possible by the generosity of the Zeidelman Family Foundation, which is committed to the unity and continuity of the Jewish people through meaningful and relevant Jewish education and wisdom.
Is my ability to make my guests comfortable tied into my ability to be present? Am I sacrificing the true meaning of the mitzvah of hospitality on the altar of fine china? Because you don't have to have fancy things to be a master of entertaining and hosting others.
This is Rise and Shine, a podcast that offers timeless wisdom and uplifting meditations to fill your heart, feed your soul, and start your day on a positive note. Here is Adrienne Gold Davis.
Do you know who Irma Bombeck was? Okay, so she passed away in 1996, but she was this American humorist, and she would turn her views of daily life in the suburbs into these satirical newspaper columns and really best-selling books. Well, when she was diagnosed with cancer, she wrote a piece that has lived rent-free in my mind ever since I first read it. It was called, "If I Had to Live My Life Over." And I want to read you a little bit of what she said, okay? She said, "If I had to live my life over, I would have burned the pink candle that sculpted like a rose before it melted in storage. I would have talked less and listened more. I would have invited friends over to dinner even if the carpeting was stained or the sofa was faded. I would have eaten the popcorn in the good living room and worried much less about the dirt. When someone wanted to light a fire in the fireplace, I would have sat on the lawn with my kids, even if it meant grass stains." I think we can all fill in the blanks of this sentiment. We would have used the good china. We would have drunk our juice out of the Baccarat wedding crystal. We would have bought clothes that fit and not held on to those that no longer did. We would have laughed more. We would have forgiven faster. We would have taken ourselves less seriously. Well, the list goes on and on. So, in an attempt to access my own inner Irma Bombeck, this year I did something that changed my holidays and my experience as a participant in my own holiday hosting. You see, I have this rule at my house. Unless you've been over for a meal 18 times, you're not allowed to help or clear or do anything but sit back and be served. So that leaves the prep and the cleanup to me. Fortunately, with a little help from my husband. But, I'm one of those women who cannot go to sleep until my kitchen is cleaned perfectly. So I'll often stay up alone doing the cleanup, just so I don't have to face it in the morning. Anyway, this year, I discovered, are you ready? Disposable dishes. Oh, okay, I've used them before. But often I would find myself washing them afterwards. Probably you're like this too. I tell myself, what a waste. Like they're perfectly good for one more use or even two. And I wonder if they'll go in the dishwasher. And I shouldn't be using plastics and just throwing them away. But this year, my friends, I finally used the dishes as they're meant to be used. I tossed them. I didn't rinse them. I didn't scrape them. I just picked them up on a tray and I dumped them into the garbage bag in one fell swoop. Well, for me, this was my version of burning the pink candle sculpted like a rose. Now, let me explain why. I have beautiful dishes and beautiful serving pieces. I love them. I love the pomp and aesthetics of setting a gorgeous table and entertaining guests. But I finally figured out that if I'm having a big crowd and I want to be part of the meal, of the discussions, of the joy of the social interaction, then I had to take a few things, pardon my pun, off my plate. And so literally, that's what I did. My hesitation, though, for all of these years, was actually based on a Jewish concept that's called Hidur Mitzvah, or the principle of enhancing a mitzvah through aesthetics. Rabbi Ishmael comments on a particular verse in Exodus that says, "This is my God, and I will glorify him." And he maintains that this is what Hidur Mitzvah means. In keeping with the principles of Hidur Mitzvah, Rabbi Zera taught, one should be willing to pay even 1/3 more than normal price. Jewish lore is replete with stories about Jews of very modest circumstances paying more than they could afford for the most beautiful etrog to enhance their observance of Sukkot, or the most delectable foods to enhance their observance of the Sabbath. So a beautiful Seder plate, beautiful Chanukiah, a sparkling silver Kiddush cup, even gorgeous clothing for the Sabbath. All these things, if the purpose is to truly glorify and beautify our rituals and our commandments. And now I have turned to disposables, at least some of the time, and I feel a little funny about it. But wait a minute. Since when is my comfort more important than the beautification of the mitzvah of hospitality, or what we call it in Hebrew, hachnasat orchim? Or is my ability to make my guests comfortable tied into my ability to be present? Am I enhancing everything but my own ability to be present and part of everything? Am I sacrificing the true meaning of the mitzvah of hospitality on the altar of fine china? Because you don't have to have fancy things to be a master of entertaining and hosting others. What you need is the desire to help your guests feel like they are the most special people in the world at that moment. That to serve them is your pleasure. That their presence in your home is the present. That they are your hostess gift. We learned this from our matriarch and patriarch, Abraham and Sarah. They promised little, but they delivered much. They sought out guests and treated them to the finest that they had. They say that their tent was open on all four sides so that whatever direction you were coming from, you saw an open door and welcoming open arms. So I have come to this conclusion. If, like me, you don't have any outside help, and if you don't have any kids who can assist you, or you're hosting on your own, then why not order takeout and serve it on your best dishes, or cook up a storm and serve it on disposables? But give your guests the gift of a fully present hostess who isn't stretched to the max and anxious and exhausted. This week, can you take a look at both sides of this equation? Can you burn that candle you've left on display for years while you still can? Can you stop worrying about the state of your house and more about the state of your mind? Can you buy some disposables and actually toss them afterwards? Can you find ways to make hosting more pleasurable for yourself? Because, my friends, the winter is here, and there is nothing better than filling your home with the warmth and the love of those you care for. Don't let the carpet stains or the dishes get in the way. Here's to opening our tents, whatever size or shape they are, on all four sides. Just don't forget to leave room for yourself at the table.
Thanks for listening to Rise and Shine. Don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe to Momentum Podcasts on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Join Adrienne again next time for more timeless wisdom and uplifting meditations that fill your heart, feed your soul, and start your day on a positive note.
This podcast was sponsored by the Zeidelman Family Foundation. Spread the wisdom. Inspire Jewish individuals around the globe by supporting Momentum's podcasts. To sponsor, contact podcast@momentumunlimited.org. You're listening to a Momentum podcast. For unlimited inspiration, wisdom, and empowerment, visit momentumunlimited.org.